Barrister Mbeseha, we started this report together on Monday when we first got this news, and you saw and understood that it was the road networks that caused this. But linking this also, you see that this situation is so bad to the point that the people who are supposed to be the helpmates, let me use that word at this point, to those who have not yet been there, are also losing their lives. So who else is Shoko when those that have it are not there?
Well, I said it last meeting when we were sitting here, and I'll add it here now. Whatever is the reason, whether the guy was drunk or whatever, there's no reason why people should die like that. Those of us who live out of the country, especially in the United States, there's something called a DUI, driving under influence. Right here, it means they know that people will drink and get drunk. They know that people will be alcoholics and drive. The primary responsibility of the state is to be sure that even those people who are driving when they are drunk are safe for themselves and they are safe about the people they drive with. And so if the government has not taken these steps, I said last time, if you saw that accident, if you showed the pictures, it was a head-on collision. The bonnet of the car was completely shattered. Why? Because the road itself is so narrow. So narrow that they could not even, they are looking for passage. In their drunkenness or whatever state they were, they will hit each other. They are looking for passage and they are driving at speed that is above speed limit. If there's no speed limit in Limbe, they go unpunished. Who is supposed to check all this? It is the state. You put speed limit, you control it, you punish violators. You put laws against driving under influence. You enforce it, you punish offenders. If this is not done, expect these things to occur and anybody can be victim. No matter how rich your parents are or how poor they are, the son, as you're told right now, we're telling us, the son of a prominent man, is a rich man, Limbe. But God did not spare him because his father is rich. He died. And along with him, others. Again, why we should take care of all these things? The state must be reminded that that is what is meant by a government. A government that abandons those basic things. Safety on the road. The safety of even drunken people is a failed government. These children, they are dead or in their prime, they should not have died. What are we waiting for? Waiting for a report? What will the report do? Will it bring them to life? Nothing. And so, I know Limbe very, very well. The roads are so narrow, and I said here, bad roads should never have been the issue of Limbe. Because Limbe is what they call the OPEC city, where they refine oil. The byproducts are thrown into the ocean for nothing. Whereas Paul Biya himself had come to Boya and told us publicly, I was there, that he will use those things to make fixing roads. The Limbe, this is the most terrible. And so, me, the primary responsibility lies with the government, whose duty is to provide the infrastructure, whose duty it is to punish the offenders if they're not doing that, whose duty to ensure that both the and the people caused the death are safe. Nobody wanted to die. Again, how do these two children find themselves on motorbike? I had said it here before. Motorbike is not never consider that thing to be for public transport. We're meant to be for personal use. They have reduced something that the only means of transport you can find in a town like that is to use a motorbike. 3-4 of you sitting on that thing, it by itself is a risk. By itself is against the law because it's meant to carry one person and no more than two, the driver and somebody behind. But now 2 of them hanging on that thing by itself is a law. It's against the law, and nobody is enforcing it. What do you expect of criminals who go unchecked? You expect the crime to become the normal, which is what should not occur in Amazonia. which is why we fight to stop this nonsense and rebuild our lives. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Fru. It's so worrying that in the year 2025, we're talking about poor road networks and how many people we keep counting loss. You can imagine such a promising young girl just in her early 20s and her younger sister just stepped into the 20s. How can this family bear the pain and loss of two beautiful, elegant girls? Is it that the crime the parents would have committed is to come from Ambazonia? This is very sad. How much more will Ambazonians cry for poor road networks? How much more? Barrister Fru, I'm asking.
Well, Onye, I will link the two cases as a result of the abandonment, economic abandonment of Amazonia and the war. In where I come from, there's no unwanted child, because when a girl gets pregnant in a family, that family takes care of her till she delivers that child and the child is taken care of. That is the African culture. That is from where I come from. Whether there are social services or there are no social services is not the question. The question is, are those parents now capable of sustaining the economic life wire of the family, including an unborn child? Are those parents in Mbengwi do they deserve to receive the cups of their children because of the bad roads in all of Amazonia, including Limbe? Do you know, Onye, that even the small generation of what CDC generates, and in a few years back, Sonora, all the taxes are paid in Douala, not in Limbe. There is no allocation, economic allocation for FACO from the central government because they don't have the money. They have collapsed. And I will argue that all the services, all what we call building of roads or social services to take care of unwanted pregnancy or take care of not allowing this type of accident to occur, leads to one thing, that the center can no longer hold. The war, I'm not only talking about the economy, the war that was declared on us, plus the economy that had been abandoned before the war, coming together has collapsed every economic live wire in Amazonia and in La Republic of Cameroon, because Amazonia had no economy of its own since 1972. After 1972, they took away all our economic live wire. So we have nothing. We are a product of the failed economy of La Republique du Cameroon, and we are suffering the consequences. Bad roads, because La Republique has not built any road in Limbe in the last 10, 20 years, as far as I know. Travel from Douala to Limbe and see the condition of the road. Why? I mean, the accident is a consequence of bad road, and also the fact that La Republique picks amongst us their so-called party militants or sympathizers and enrich them so that they have no voice. And therefore their children ride cars and the rest of us, the rest of our children are on foot, and therefore they have to take Okada, and they come and hit the Okada and kill two prosperous young girls from Mbengwi. We cannot extricate ourselves. Let's not pretend that the economy is removed from all what we are talking about. We are talking about the live wire of every nation or every city or every county or every division, whatever. It does not exist in Amazonia. From Victoria to Cambe, we are surviving because our parents are farmers by nature. But farming alone will not take care of you. Look at the statistics. Unemployment in the whole of Amazonia is more than 80%. I would argue that that little girl, or that woman who had that child and abandoned the child, it is because she had no means of bringing that child to the world. And her parents or whatever, husband or whoever, had no money to let her go through the social system and deliver that child, and they can take care of it. The same thing with those two young girls. They left their homes. They are struggling to survive. They left their homes and took Okada. Two of them on one Okada. Is that normal? In any circumstances, is it normal? But they were killed because of the bad road and because a rich man's child was drunk. And you will know that their death will go nowhere because that car may not have proper insurance. That Okada may not have proper insurance. The economy has collapsed. Only the rich are living well, and the whole population is in quagmire. And why are we only talking about the social fabric? The social fabric of our people is intact. Our tradition is intact. A child is pregnant in my family, everybody rallies around to help. But when the economy collapses and everybody is suffering, what do you expect the child to do with the child? She had to leave it somewhere where somebody will take it. I am not justifying it, but I'm looking at it squarely. What are you going to do to that little girl? Or the woman who abandoned the child? Put her in prison? Is the prison system any better with a poor economy? Are the prisoners eating? I mean, let's face it, until we finish this war and rebuild our nation, we cannot blame it on our social fabric. No. The social services that were there before 1972 were run by West Cameroon, but they are no longer in existence because they took away everything and abandoned us. That is my case. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Commander Elvis, you see that when we talk about such issues, you also get very emotional because you're coming and you stay in a climate where things are working and things are working very fast. Human life is as important as it should be. But yet, this is what is happening in your country. This is what is happening, where the lives of people does not matter to the people who are supposed to protect it. And so, do you think that, in a way, Amazonians in America will appreciate the independence of America in what it has happened? Do you think that they are hoping to, benefit in ways that would also benefit Amazonians?
Yeah, Onye, thank you. Thank you for that great question. And I would like to pivot that response, especially to our fellow Amazonians that are in the United States of America. Yesterday, like I started, marked the 249th celebration of the independence of America. So July 4th, again, 1776, was when the Americans, the U.S., separated from Great Britain. But to tell this story to especially People that would resonate with the story, if you don't mind, I would just take a moment to explain the story of the American Star Spangled Banner. That is the story that I think resonates with each and every Amazonian. And I would like for the Amazonians to just give me a moment to let this sink in. All right. So let me tell the story of the Star Spangled Banner in this way. So there was a young lawyer by the name of Francis Scott Key, who lived in the great state of Baltimore in Maryland in the 1800s. That was a time when the U.S. was involved in so many vicious wars with the Great Britain. After that Revolutionary War, the Great Britain suffered a series of humiliating defeats at the hands of the United States. They were practically in retreat, defending themselves all along through that time. However, in 1814, that is when that defensive actually kind of stopped. In August, specifically of 1814, they were determined to stop all those embarrassments. And again, the British saw an opportunity to go on the offensive and take on the American fighters that had been defending their land with great pride. So they started by capturing Washington, D.C., which was the nation's capital, chasing away the president of America at that time, Madison, and his wife from the city of Washington, and burning down so many government buildings. The British then headed to the next state, which was the state of Baltimore. That was the nation's third most popular city that had a fort. That fort is specifically called Fort McKinney. So along the way, the British were accumulating a whole lot of prisoners as they were fighting to capture these areas. Again, keep in mind that Fort McKinney was one of the greatest military installations that if they had toppled it, it would have been a great charm to the Americans, given that they had just lost the capital. So one of such prisoners that was actually in that Fort McKinley was a prisoner by name of Dr. Williams, Dr. William Beans. So they were trying to seek his release. So many of his friends and well-wishers who were actually, I would say, were soldiers as well, embarked on a mission to try to convince those Americans or the British to seek for their release. So the British ship then, was driving there with the likes of that lawyer Francis Scott Key, who was the lawyer that had been recruited to secure the release of this great statesman. However, as they embarked on that mission after weeks of discussion, in which the British had actually allowed uh, the Dr. Willis to go free, they then said, but for any prisoner to come out of, or anybody to come out of Fort McHenry, they had to bombard that place for the next week. And if they did not succeed, or if they succeeded, any prisoner then could come out of there, right? So the bad news was that the British decided to first attack Fort McKinney and only release any prisoners after only the fort had been completely destroyed. So it was strategically located based on the fact that there were thousands of American fighters, or I'll say warriors, that were defending that city, that stood at the edge of that peninsula guarding Baltimore. And the British knew that they had to defeat Fort McKinney, which would serve as another demoralizing event for the Americans. Now, so the British planned to use a lot of superior firepower, which was what they had. They were planning to annihilate Fort McKinley, and that was very critical in the history of America, which I want us to relate that to the situation in Bowie today. So even though the U.S. had become very a sovereign nation way back in the 1776, the U.S. was still fighting for her total independence from the British. Of course, due to her interference in their internal affairs and in the trade of other freedoms. So on the fateful night of September 13th, 1884, as morning dawned and as haze hung over the ocean, the British war fleet was unleashed, and there was sounds of bombs everywhere, pounding for McKinley for 5, 10, up till 24 hours that they were pounding for McKinley. As long as the lawyer who was going to seek the release uh, stood at a distance and he could identify the white, blue, and red flags still waving from that fort, he knew that the men inside the fort were not giving up. Some prisoners were there. He knew that they were still alive. Some prisoners were also asking, is the flag still there? This flag was a very big flag, and this flag stood for the United States of America. That was the flag that symbolized the freedom that the U.S. cherished. That was the flag that stood for the men and the women that died to give the U.S. her independence. And after 24 hours of constant bombardment, there was silence as morning dawned on September 14th. When the heavy mist and the smoke from the gunfire had lifted, there standing proud, flying high above the rampart, blowing back and forth, the wind was that 30-foot by 42-foot American flag. That flag was so long that the British did not have any issues even seeing it from afar. The damage to that fort was very minimal. That fort had about 1,000 soldiers, and only 4 were killed by the British bombardments. So the US did not yield, and the British eventually withdrew from Baltimore, from her harbors, because they deemed the battle too expensive, too costly for them, and the tides of the war quickly changed. So it was upon the release of the prisoners that the lawyer, Francis Scott Key, made his way back to Baltimore after what he had witnessed, the dramatic events that had unfolded, because he stood watching how the fort was being bombarded. And that young lawyer was inspired then to pen the words, which I would read very clearly for all Amazonians to listen. And they goes thus. Oh, say, can you see the dawn's early lights? What so proudly held at the twilight's last glaring, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glared, the bombs bursting in the air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say those that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. So, thus, it is my prayer and it's our prayer as Ambazonians that whenever we see our flag, which represents Ambazonia, with similar independence wars or stories, that we also never ever forget though to honor our heroes, just like that of the US, that we would stand in reverence for the uh, for their sacrifices, for those events that they have fought, for those that have laid down their lives for our independence. That we shall never give up, and that their sacrifices shall never go in vain. Let us use this opportunity, looking at Boy as one of those bastions, those last battles that we have to fight. Let us honor the courage of our great men and women who have fought to keep our flag waving. Let us always give honor to those willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Thank you, Onye. And over to you.
All right, thank you so much for that insightful one. I'm sure that this would definitely, energize Amazonians to, do the needful this night.